sail away, sail away. We don't need a destination to sail away.
She looks great. Came through the winter well. Tarps, all looking good.
Hi, Dave Hadfield here, and you never know what you're going to find when you pull the tarps off your boat after a long winter and go inside. But it's sure nice to see that block of mouse bait untouched. You can get right to some long overdue projects, like removing this perfectly serviceable 4-track. I don't know why I'm doing it. Or you can get down on your knees in the bilge and overhaul one of the seacocks. Lots of fun. Very good bronze, that. But mostly it's just sanding and painting and sanding and painting. And sometimes finding little pockets of rot to fix before they become big pockets of rot. Because rot never sleeps and it never gets smaller. Sometimes you even get to haul yourself up the mast and paint your way down. Not a job for the faint-hearted. The view, though, like the astronaut said, is tremendous. Eventually, though, you feel like you've done enough.
There she goes, headed towards the water. Or at least the travel lift. Looks pretty good, I think. And that's the side I didn't paint.
The boat goes in, and I borrow every sump pump in the marina because the planks have dried out and shrunk.
Well, we're in the water, sort of, hanging in the slings from the travel lift. I haven't been able to pre-swell the boat, so it is a river. Well, she's in the water. It's actually taken up pretty well. I'm almost down to the water line. That's with the sump pump. Right now you can see the sump pump hose bouncing back and forth, which means it's cavitating. It's caught up with the inflow. Normal for a dry spring. I mean, this is June 10th. Last year, I think it was May 10th I launched.
Anyway, even though it's very scary, and every year you say, oh, these planks will never swell up that much, they always do. The planks are Cypress. They shrink a lot when they're dry, they expand a lot when they're wet, and the big thing is to leave the caulking alone. Don't goop or ram any other stuff in those open seams. It just makes it worse later. The trick is to calm your nerves and wait. And then get busy with some other chores, like polishing brass. Wave at your wife as she flies overhead and says, na-na-na-boo-boo. Or rig and launch the dinghy. In this case, a 10-foot pram of my own design. Next, bend some sails on. And I should mention that the name Drake comes from myself, my wife, my 2 kids, and our pets, David, Robin, Austin, Kelly, et al. But before you know it, you're underway and leaving harbor for the first time of the year, and it feels great.
It's lovely. And we're just leaving Penetang's inner harbor. I'm going to head over to Bosle. I'm sitting on the stern rail seat, and no one is steering Drake. And there's no autopilot. She just loves this. 5 to 10 knot breeze and no particular sea and close haul. She'll hold her own track all day like this, never touch the wheel. It's the combination of the long keel, the long spread out sail plan. The wind is only, well, you can see there's hardly anything there. Just the very touch of a whitecap. So the wind is about 6 or 7 knots, and we're doing about 5, 6 knots. Everybody likes it. What a sweet day to be sailing. Here we are parked at Bosle on a beautiful sunny Wednesday. There are 3 boats, I think, in this harbor. And I just love the interplay of the water and the hull. Very soothing. And we have the new Bimini up. And it's just a fitted piece of flat canvas. But what a difference it makes in that cockpit. Bosle Island. The reptiles and the amphibians are healthy and alive here. It's just so great to see. I spotted this snake on the bottom as I rode by in my little, my little dinghy here off the sailboat. And he was actually on the bottom, swimming on the bottom. And then as I went back, he had to come up for air. Came up right beside the boat. First turtle of the year. Rowing a little boat is just so much more pleasant than ripping around in a Zodiac. Let's see what's going to happen here now. Oh, he's going for it. The sunshine is so nice, he doesn't want to leave it. Oh, there he goes. Wonder where he went. There are all kinds of little splashes in here. There was something big, I think it was a muskrat, pulled me over, and now there's a whole bunch of little splashes. And they're great big bullfrogs. It's about 8 inches long, it's a monster. And I guess the splashes are frogs in here, although I can't seem to get one on camera jumping. I'm just in here in a little rowboat, a little 10-foot dinghy from the sailboat. And it's a gorgeous spring day at Bosle Island. Well, we just tried Southwest Harbor on Giant's Tomb, and it's still too shallow. So we've turned south. We got a bit of a tailwind. So we got the Genoa out front, and for the first time in quite a while, actually, conditions are perfect for setting the spinnaker, which we pull up right out of the hatchway, tack it down temporarily to that fitting on the deck head there. Use one of the halyards that face forward at the top of the mast, and use my ancient Chinese cleat, which I got out of a book about Chinese junks and made myself. Just a cleat on a rope and a snap.
Dave, there's a whale! There's a whale!
Can't be a whale. The water's too shallow, Rob. Are we okay here?
Huh?
See the bottom here.
It's just clean.
Yeah. And that has given us a blazing 2.5 knots. It's just incredible. Water skiing next. Lovely fast reach. And I'm yelling because there's probably wind noise in this microphone. Just past the Western Islands. Don't even have to touch the wheel. Doing, probably can't read that, 5.5 knots. Right on course. Robin's really happy. Dinghy's just surfing along. It's not leaking much. It's all good.
The water level was about 2 feet higher than datum, so we were able to pull into this little cove on Franklin Island. Never been here before. Drake draws 40 inches with the centerboard up, and so we had the place to ourselves. A pretty little spot. It's kind of what you hope for as you cruise along this shore. We took a day off and just enjoyed it. I love evening shots in a wild anchorage. It's amazing to watch the light turn from this to this. However, it would be a mistake to think that it's always idyllic.
I'm thinking maybe it might rain. What's that? I can't hear you because of all the rain.
At this point, we worked our way northwest via the small craft route. This winds its way through about 100,000 islands and reefs, but by doing so avoids the open lake with big seas and predominantly northwest winds. It's very picturesque, but you've sure got to pay attention to navigation. It's a beautiful, hard rock archipelago, and some parts of it are still not charted for depths. But if you go ahead in the dinghy and make sure you have enough water, you can find some perfect places to anchor.
Hello, the Drake.
Any fish?
No fish and no blueberries on the island.
That's too bad.
Yeah, well, we got blueberries on board and we're eating steak, so we may survive. So we're behind Golden Sword Island, just north of Cunningham's Cut, and in the region of Black Bay. And got a beautiful, beautiful afternoon all to ourselves. We knocked off cruising at, I don't know, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, something like that, and just parked.
It's moments like this that you have to remember in the spring, when you spend day after day on a ladder, standing. So for the next leg, we went outside at Sandy Bay because I much prefer sailing the open lake to the small craft route, and we anchored in the Bustard Islands on the northwest side. Many cruising boats anchor here, but if you head out in your dinghy and explore, there's so many islands that it's rare to see anyone. You know, someday I'm going to canoe out here from the mainland and just park for a week or two and do nothing.
So this would have been a good day for the square sail. We're going dead downwind in a 4-knot breeze, and we're doing 2.8 to 3 knots, which isn't bad. And of course, I've got the spinnaker flying from the mizzen top, but it would have been better to have the square sail, 16 feet on a yard arm, 6 feet from the top of the main. Oh well, next time.
There are advantages, though, to sailing in easy conditions. Next, we took advantage of a wonderful thing, an east wind in the forecast. There is a long, straight inland fjord, more or less, called Holland's Inlet, and it leads to Killarney. We've sailed it from west to east with the prevailing wind, but never from east to west, so we thought we'd give it a try.
Oh, there's Mill Lake. And now we enter the cut of Collins Inlet. And we're going west. And we're doing it under sail. No motor. Just one sail and a ham. That's it. Oh, She didn't like that. Oh yeah, she did. She's okay. No bites yet. Oop. And now we see the mainsail jibe. And you know what? In a catch, it just doesn't matter.
Robin duck.
Now we're getting a back eddy. Oh no! We have to start the motor.
Well, it's a good thing we don't rely on fish for these trips. I'm sure it's not me. Anyway, we had a wonderful sail, made it to Killarney, which is a good place for a pump out and get ice, replenish the booze locker, and then we carried on to Snug Harbor. This is a beautiful little deep water hideaway, totally secure against all wind and storm. Next morning, I took a walk across the neck of land to look at the North Channel, because Snug Harbor was as far in that direction as we were going on this trip.
Well, a slightly hot walk through the bush. Very wet. I wore rubber boots and jeans, first time for a while. And I walked across from Snug Harbor. And now I'm looking out across the North Channel, if you want to call it that. In the distance, far away, there is Haywood Island and Strawberry Point and Manitoulin. Nice walk in the woods. Now it's starting to rain, but in that little bag, I've got a raincoat.
It was a nice walk back. In fact, you might even say I was liking it. And the weather cleared for a traditional boat evening of trib and libations, followed by a lovely, quiet, calm, peaceful night. Our next leg was back to Georgian Bay, to Club Island, an abandoned fishing station from 100 years ago.
That's the smiling face of my cohort, Bob.
It was a windy day. Too much wind noise for the cell phone, so I'll add comments. There's Club Island, looking at it from the north. And during some rain squalls, I'd put a reef in both the mizzen and the main. But even with that, we were moving along okay.
Quite a respectable speed.
4.6. That's wrong.
You mean this is wrong? No, surely we're doing 5.5. It says so. It wouldn't lie. And close haul. And the wind is southwest because it was supposed to be northwest and north.
The anchoring ground in the harbor is loose rock. So if you want to hold, you need an anchor with a point, like a secure, a CQR, or an old-fashioned fisherman. The Northill anchor that's on Drake's bow came off my grandfather's old boat, a World War II RCAF rescue launch, the Ad Astra. We had a bit of a rolly night because the wind went around to the east and blew in the harbor entrance, and that's because it was forecast to be from the northwest. Go figure. Anyway, next day, all was well.
So here we are, rolling downhill from Club Island, where we spent a kind of a rolly night. Wasn't very comfortable. The wind went around to the north, a bit east of north where it is right now, and spilled into the harbor, and I had to get up at 5:30 and put a spring line on the anchor line to point us into the wind. No, you didn't. You didn't.
No, I didn't. I was lucky.
But now we're going downwind. We were going to go to Wingfield Basin, but that would have put these swells on our quarter, which would have been miserable to try and steer the boat and a rock'em sock'em ride. So we're going dead downwind in this sleigh ride towards Tobermory, Flower Pot Island there on the bow, and maybe Wingfield tomorrow if the wind goes southwest. It was a bit of an adventure getting the pole on the jib while we're rolling like this without me falling in the water. But what we did is we jibed the main, made a lee, then set up the jib, you know, out of the wind, and then jibed the main back again. And that worked pretty well.
Tobermory is a typical Georgian Bay port, quite picturesque, a little heavy on the tourists, but kind of a nice place for a layover, wander around, have some ice cream, buy a newspaper, service the boat. It's always kind of fun to meet a town from the water side instead of the highway, but one night is enough.
Finally got a wind. Been bobbing along here between Tobermory and Wingfield Basin at 1 to 2 knots, so we motored for an hour, but now a little bit of a northwest wind has filled in and we're doing at least 3.5 to 4, that range, with the pulled out jib and the full main, missing, and an ecstatic crew. Absolutely ecstatic. It's just quivering. Yeah. I'm okay with it too.
Wingfield Basin is an absolutely perfect hideaway harbor, complete with a picturesque shipwreck. Protected, but lots of room, good holding, and an excellent place to touch up the paint. Next morning, out the very narrow cut, turn right at the lighthouse, and make our way to Lion's Head. A lot of big cliffs along this shore, and not too many anchorages. Lion's Head gets its name from a particular rock formation nearby. This is a good jumping off point for the Georgian Bay crossing and a lovely little harbor in its own right. It's actually easier to get pumped out and topped off with water and fuel here than Tobermory. Anyway, next day we started off with a fair wind and a big crossing to make.
There's Lion's Head going astern, 7:30 in the morning, and we took advantage of a half decent forecast. We'll see how that works out. But a good dawn wind. Came out here with the salmon fishermen, of which there are many, to get the sails up and round Lion's Head, head for Christian Island. Yeah, we need some wind. Got 44 nautical miles. Well, I guess it's probably 43 by now.
You can certainly spend a night under sail in Georgian Bay. It's plenty big enough and there isn't all that much traffic. But with a crew of only 2, you don't get a lot of sleep. So we generally try and be in an anchorage at night. This is a bit of a constraint because you really don't want to anchor in the open roadsteads of the Christian Island area in the dark.
Anyway, we're doing 5.7. Certainly making good our track, which is far, far away. Still not too far now, actually. 30 miles, I think, to Christian Island. We are leaving the big headlands on the western shore of Georgian Bay behind. That's Cape Quilter. There is St. Griffiths and White Cloud Island. And Colpoys Bay to Wyerton. And we came from Lion's Head, which is way back there. So Drake right now is self-steering. I've got the mizzen eased a bit. It's reaching a bit of a broad reach. So if we turn up into wind at all, the mizzen starts to luff. The front of the boat pulls us around to the left. If we turn downwind at all, then the mizzen starts pushing the stern of the boat over to the left. We're pulling our course 115 to 120. Every once in a while I got to add just a little bit. And rudder. We're doing over 6 knots. Sweet.
We wanted to keep doing 5 to 6 knots, but then the wind started to die, which it usually does when you need it. So what do? You put up more sails.
So now we have 4 sails up. Not just 3, we have 4. And 4 is way better than merely 3 because it's another sail. That makes 4. 4 is way better. Lots more strings, lots more sails. Anyway, that's a mizzen staysail, and it's a terrible looking old thing. I think it dates from about 1970 and was probably the actual mizzen sail way back when. And it's all stretched and bagged out. But when the wind's behind you, that actually works to our advantage as a mizzen staysail. And I set it up just about anywhere. Obviously, I've got lots of halyards at the masthead, and then I tack it down to either that fitting in the center there of the deck, or I can hook, in this case, to a stanchion base, wherever it best suits the wind. And as you can see, it's sticking out to the windward side a bit and scooping up some air and actually pulling a bit. It's probably giving us half a knot. We were doing 3.6, 3.7, now we're doing 4.2. And the boat doesn't steer as well anymore. You have to steer it more carefully, manually, but it works. And of course, I mentioned this before, but there's my temporary cleat, which just made out of 5/8 plywood. And that's a pattern I got from a book about ancient Chinese junk rigging from 1,000 years ago. And I thought, hey, I could use that. And it works great. Just, I can, again, sheet it to any of the hardware points at the edge of the deck.
But even that wind faded away, and by late afternoon, we were reduced to motor sailing. But that was to make Christian Island before dark. And then a surprising thing happened.
Okay. And there's Hope Island in the distance.
Perfect, just before my battery died.
That's great, eh?
That was my friend Peter, who'd been keeping track of us via Facebook and decided to see if we were okay. The last time he and I did something like this, he was in a Vampire and I was in a Spitfire. Mind you, those two aircraft and this boat were all built within about 4 years of each other. Anyway, before long, we were anchored in the lee of Christian Island, as the song goes, and had a nice night. After that, easy sailing in home waters, and before you know it, we were back at Foundry Cove, having completed our circumnavigation of Georgian Bay.
Then we'll sail away, sail